Okay, perfect. Let's go. Okay, great. Hey, on your guys' Okay, great. Bernie made a request yesterday. We'll look at some Bukidori, so weapon taking. So we'll do a few with each weapon. Obviously, we're doing them solo, so you wouldn't have the Bokken or the Joey, but we'll do the kind of form spelling. So one of the key points though is also the atemi. So we'll do some atemi work first. We'll just loosen off first, and then we'll go into off. Just shaking up the arms. That's the sides. Right at the top. Right, rolling out one side. And the other side. Right, move that together. Picture your direction. Great, a little bit front and back. And sides. It's the same, just pressing the elbows back a little bit. And going from the shoulders to the back. Dropping into the knees, planting the feet. Right. Okay, we'll just go with the ankles, just roll in one way. Just rolling into the edges of the feet. Feet together, rolling the knees. Rolling the hips. Right, bring the feet out, a little bit side to side. Okay, just hold on one side. Right, changing it over. Move down on the toes up. Inside. Great, coming over one side, stretching up the leg, the back, pressing through the heel. Changing the sides. Okay, dropping into the squat, settle into it a little bit. Your hands on knees and then just roll it through the spine. Looking over the shoulder. A little bit of twisting with the elbows. Loosen off with the arms out. Big circles of the shoulders. Away. Rolling them out. Good. Start to bring the arms into a kind of figure of eight. Tension with the arm. Open up the elbows. Ways. Changing side. Bring them both together. Just a little bit alternating them. Right, into the fingers and the wrists, pressing the fingers out. Making fists. Right, a little bit with the neck, big circles. Working both ways. Bring a little bit of pressure from the back, pressing into it. As if you're pushing the hands, trying to bend the head down, pushing back against it. Great, release the tension, the neck drop. The neck towards the chest. Stretching it back. Stretch up through the elbows. Bringing the head up to the top. Yeah. Perfect. And then just taking the top of the chin, at the top of the chin, bottom of the chin, pressing up, and again pressing down a little bit with the head. Last one, just pressing the palms to the head, into the forehead, pressing against it. Reset that. Great, just shake out the arms a little bit. Just work with this exercise. So just kind of flicking the arms out. The main thing, again, just like the weapon work, think of the feet as well. So include the feet in the movement in terms of pressing into the ground. You kind of flick the arm out. Just focusing on one side at a time. So right, left, right, left. So though the arms are loose, try and get a feeling there's a little bit of structure being passed out. A little bit of weight. And just start to play with it, so taking the arm in different directions. Let it be guided by the hips. You kind of change the hip, change the arm. Low as well. You can play with kind of dropping movements, but just keep everything kind of loose in there. So you can also play with like 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒉𝒏𝒆𝒄 kind of movements drawing up. So just play with keeping the arms loose as you do it. That's nice. Great. So we'll just start with nice basic strikes. So just like shoulder width apart, hip width apart, and then just playing with keep everything kind of loose, especially in the fingers arms. Just play with now coordinating the arms together. So you're just getting this feel. Center drops, arms coordinate. And again, just get the feeling now you're kind of passing structure through, especially focusing, keeping the wrists kind of soft. So you can really focus on the shoulder. And especially for it's really important to the elbow, that sense of the elbow is basically going to press the movement out. So you're on a kind of straight line, which is like a kind of 𝒊𝒏𝒕 technique in terms of our kind of body mechanics. Okay, the first thing notice in this case. Notice this is really important also for the Bukido or the Tachido or the Jodo when you're going to. The main thing you're going to want to do is start to come into these kind of positions with the arms. But if you think about all these kind of movements are going to come from this kind of position. So think of it's hard to keep this kind of position. But what I don't want to do is as I go into these kind of moves, go into this kind of structure. I'm basically I'm bringing the shoulders up. So even though the arms are up, feel that the shoulders are dropped back, so that you're basically in this kind of position. But the arms are kind of engaged into that position. So it's important with this one because I don't want to build a pattern into the body, which is like being with the sword like that. So you want that feeling like if you think about the sword work or the taijutsu work, think of the shoulders basically being dropped back into the body. So what I think about with this one is not especially dropping them down, but think about widening the shoulders as well. You want the body to be kind of wide through it. You don't want to be up and narrow. So again, the key thing now is think about the back, think of the width through the shoulders, and kind of pressing out the strike from the back. Pressing out the strike. So. That's it, that's it, that's it. It's very nice. There we go. Yeah, great. Yeah, and in this case, think of this whole region of the torso, which is really here to stabilize the body. So if you imagine doing this, if you imagine doing this with like a resistance band, this movement is going to start to pull the torso out of structure. So the torso, if it's not stable, it starts to kind of come out of structure. And then basically the fist has nothing to kind of back it up. So think of this whole part of the body. Use basically the breath in this case. You're going to kind of breathe, and you don't want to kind of clench it, but you want it to sit into place. You want it to, I think about stabilizing the center of the body, rather than kind of this kind of feeling where this gets pulled out. Think about sinking down. It's the same thing we do with the sword, but that stability that you get in the cut, that you want the same thing here. So that stability down through the torso, so that stability is backing up the fist. But as soon as that starts to weaken or basically come out of structure, it's gonna, the strike has kind of no power. So think of the torso as kind of stabilize the spine. And that stability that can then pass through the fist. Right. That's it, that's it. Perfect. Good. Yeah, and then just start to play with the fist, kind of making fist. You want that tightness in the fist not to really affect the shoulders, especially the joints. So you don't want to get it feeling like I'm tightening, and then this whole region tightens. So really feel that you can tighten the fist without this really being compromised in terms of mobility. So play with it. Imagine the fists are just soft and heavy. Soft and heavy. That makes sense. Something like that. So you want the fist to be like a heavy weight going in. Boom, boom. It's especially important now that you feel with the elbow that you kind of inject it. So again, you're using the elbow like a hinge, but you're really stabilizing it through the shoulder and the connection again to the torso. But just feel like a kind of heavy weight out. Boom, weight out. Again, it's the same kind of dynamics we're doing with the weapons. It's not really specifically different. Sound like a kind of thudding. Nice. Catherine is in there. There we go. Yeah, right. Good. Okay, we'll go to the Shomanuchi. So not especially a practical movement, but we use this kind of structure in the Tachidori especially. So just play now with the film. You're going to use the center line of the body. The key thing for us again, it's like the Shomanuchi work we do with the sword. You want the feeling of weight. So just play with this one, kind of keep it loose again. But you want the key with this is train from the start. This sense of keeping the hand together. So you want to basically later form this into a structure where it feels like it's not loose. So especially with this Shomanuchi, you don't want to go in with the fingers like loose. Especially important in Tachi Yoshi, you don't want to hit the fingers into the person. So just play with like forming this into a structure, and just play very lightly, just dropping weight into it. It doesn't have to be much, but again, think about using the elbow. Especially think about the underside of the elbow, so kind of dropping the weight into it. But we get this idea of kind of forming the hand into a striking object. That's it. And the same thing with this, think about, you can do this like that, which is just the arm, or think about that, actually dropping weight through it. Dropping weight through it. So again, think about the sword what we're doing. You want that sense of dropping the weight of the body through it. Again, this is a really important movement for especially one of the Taijutsu, the feeling of being able to come in control and place the weight of the structures through that contact point. So again, it's not necessarily it's not a especially powerful strike, but it does form a structure that can start to come in and control. So it's a useful movement. Yeah. Right, and just play with this a little bit. Imagine you've got a target. You can use this basically for the head, bam, for the head, or you can use it. What we also use this for is like also taking the arms. Which could either be like here or onto the joint, like onto the thumb that holds the weapon. So just play with a little bit like this, this, this. But again, just kind of applying the hip different positions. You play with the hand, bam, but keeping that idea of the center line of the body, bam. And again, dropping the weight through it. So wherever the hand goes, the feeling of the center being basically behind it. Sit. There we go. Nice. Right. So just play lightly now with stepping out with the feet. So play with the strike, play with the punching movement, and play with the shomanuchi movement. But yeah, the key with these two is again, they use the same basic principle. So that sense of grounding down, striking, pressing out, and grounding down, striking out with it. It's just a slightly different application of the hand. One you're working the kind of knuckles out, and the other you're using the blade of the hand to kind of press the weight through. But just play with it. Trying to keep kind of into a shomanuchi, but play with it front and back, right side, left side. We kind of mix them in together. So just play with shifting the weight. But doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's just that feeling shifting, keeping the ground, finding the strike. Yeah. Nice. Good. Perfect. That's nice. Great. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, great. Just grab a bucket. We'll do really quick. Just the kind of strike that you're also dealing with. So you've got a kind of idea. Strike. Let's go straight into this one. So, right. So you're obviously in case of the Taijutsu, the basic forms, you're just dealing with a shomanuchi. So we'll just practice a little bit of that form. Again, you want a really clear form where you're rolling up, pressing the weight in. Again, that same structure also applies later, so we'll use this kind of idea as well. But you want this feeling of shifting the weight in, landing the weight. So in a really kind of definite attack form, right to the top of the head. So. And as you're doing it, just consider, if you know any of the Taijutsu, this is probably an easier thing, or you probably know most of you've done it sometimes. Consider the points in that strike where you've got options to respond to it in terms of the defender. Okay. And also consider when you do this, the point when it's too late to respond, which is basically when I've landed the weight through, the cuts happen, and I'm basically in a stable position. So anything in terms of the Taijutsu that I'm going to try and respond to will be stopped at this point because I'm basically free to come in and move again. So you want to notice the point in yourself when I'm basically when I'm not stable enough, and that any kind of small effect with structure obviously will start to take you out of balance. So just play with the key points are like the raise. That initiation, there's a big gaping hole in the attack. So there's a big weakness in that attack, and the weakness as you shift into the leg. So as that shift occurs, that's the point when you're going to start to play with them. So you've got these 2 points, the opening of the cut, and as you come and shift the weight into the cut. So the attack itself is actually a big risk. So you're asking the person to shift the weight in for the attack. That's the point when you're going to take the initiative away. Just try and get a sense for it. Yeah. Great. Just keep the sword handy. We might come back to it and kind of use it as a kind of tool to kind of work with. But the first Taijutsu usually teaches this one, which is a really direct one. So this is obviously against the shomanuchi cut. You're going to go right foot forward with this one. So this one is wedging to the right side of the cut. As the shomanuchi comes in, you're going to bring the right foot off the ground this way and wedge off the line. So you're wedging in. And in this one, as the cut raises, you're blending the arm with it. So the foot and hand come up. So if you imagine as this cut comes in, imagine that it's dragging the hand and the foot up together. So this is like a classic mihiase that we do the sword basically applied to Aikido. So you've got this, all move together. Just play with that, just the very first few. And this is a specific one just for the right side. Yeah. The key is also feel that the body's wedging into a hand. So that's the really clear thing. The other key thing here for the basic form is that the backhand's going to fall behind the body because you don't want this position where the fingers are out. And we say this all the time in the dojo. It's so often this actually happens in the dojo. Someone gets hit in the hand with the jo or the bokkei. So it's really important. Really emphasize this in practice, especially with the slightly changes later with the 𝒂𝒂𝒿 form, but for now, that kind of feel. Yeah, it goes back to this idea you're really coming from a neutral position. You've got the strike coming in, and you want the whole body to respond straight away. That's it. Great, perfect. Good. Perfect. Great, so now this hand's going to be applied down. So as you go in, you're going to sink the weight in, and this hand now strikes down. And your target for this is the thumb on the grip. So you're trying to strike in and basically break the thumb if you were to kind of apply it, which is a really weak joint. So what you're trying to do here is come in, back, place the weight in this way, that way. So just think about this now as you come in, applying in, blending up, striking down. Again, you want to catch the person in this movement. So you're looking to basically take them out here. As they strike down, you're trying to basically come in and control the front hand. If you break the thumb, that's a bonus. They lose the weapon. But just get that feeling as you come in, you're placing the weight. So the main things with the Taijutsu get the same problems: distance, timing, correct posture, aligning the posture behind the strikes. With a special kind of awareness of time. Timing is super important to this. You just want to start to make this become one movement. So the raise drop is one. It's coming in. That's it. Good. Easy. Right. And then we'll bring the backhand in. You come here. You're looking for now the backhand to come in and take the weapon. So in terms of the sword being out here, this hand's going to creep in, and you're going to take in the middle between the two hands, right in the middle. Don't worry so much about this. Some people say like the old traditional swordsman would use like this posture with the sword, or this, something like this. So they'll use a very close grip, or they'll be in a wide position, but this gap's kind of closed. It doesn't matter because there's always a gap in the sword there. So what you're looking for is to wedge the arm into this space. So again, the hand goes in very like a sharp object. So it goes in that way, and then this way it comes in, and then I take the weapon this way. So I'm looking to kind of wedge the hand in through the grip. If there's space, I'll just take it directly. If there's not, I'll wedge it in and then grab it this way. But again, just look for the sense you go here, and then you're wedging in. This hand now is prepared to come for the next part, which is to strike up. This way to the chin. So going this way goes one. Yeah. The back foot's now really important. You don't want to be in this way. Your back foot's always kind of used for range. So the range of my movements will be decided kind of by the back foot, not necessarily by the front foot. So the closer this foot is, the more range I've got this way. So in this case, what you're doing is like that, and then drag this foot in, and then you're gonna press out into this kind of movement. So we'll look at the whole thing. It goes like this, goes one, this comes in two, and then three, and stepping through. At the same time, this hand that grabs is very slightly pulling back. And this is like a heel strike to the shin this way. So it goes here, one, two, and then three. Let's see, give that a try. If you have any questions, let me know. Not exactly. Again, really think about your structure kind of aligning behind that strike, especially now that heel strike. You want it to really kind of originate from the ground. So the key things are not doing that kind of movement, but the weight's actually coming from the back, like straight in. So you'll see this in practice. We usually do this like a push. So you make contact and then push the head back. But reality, this is a strike. Bam! Straight to the head. So I'm looking to break the structure of the spine, and then you've got the. I'm not really concerned about the sword. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, and they all start, if you see any old videos of this, and if you ever visit any of the older teachers, they also tell you this foot position, this foot coming in was also used in the early days to step on the foot to the instep. So using the toe to dig into the feet, right into the base of the foot. So that foot was used in a way like that, and then stand on the foot, trap the person, and then hit them in the face. What they found later is like if you deal with bigger, taller people, this doesn't really work. So I can trap the foot and then whoa, the person's still there standing in front of me because they're too tall. So this was you can do this if the person's smaller or the same height. It's a good technique. You basically the person ends up falling, but they can't move. So this is a great technique, but it doesn't always work. So the one that always works in this case is the feeling that what you're going to do so the person's here. You're going to pass your posture straight through theirs. So in this case, feel that. Try and show from this way. You come this way, feel that your whole posture now, the legs, the hips, press right through the person. So you're taking the whole posture through theirs at the weakest point, which is this way. This way. So one is that variation you can step on the foot. That's a possibility. Doesn't always work. And the other one, just sliding the hips straight through them. This one generally works. Nice. And again, although this is a very direct movement, it's probably one of the most direct techniques we've got in the system. Think about spiral work, especially in terms of the connection into the hand. So as you do this, the thing I don't, it will be effective in terms of a strike, like if I just press up with it, like in a linear way, you'll get that kind of response. But if you think about this, if you're to meet resistance with the head here, what you want to do is really spiral it. So it's not only moving that way, but it's moving a little bit up and down over the top and a little bit that way. So you're using it, if you think about the base of the skull, you're basically trying to confuse the person's skull. So like that kind of movement's really tricky to deal with. That movement's not so bad, I can deal with that. But a movement that goes like, will start to really screw me up. So you're basically trying to control the head in this case. So you've got that, but just think in terms of like a spiral work, which is gonna coil through it. Coil through it. So it's got that same sense coming from the ground, but you've got a slightly different feel. And as you continue it over, you can also roll down with it. So you're looking to really kind of smother the person's face with the movement. Spiral. Yeah. Right. Great. Okay, we'll do another one for the left side. I teach these two usually these as basic because they also apply to the Jo. They apply across. So you just change the foot with them generally with the Jo. So this one's more like a 𝒂𝒂𝒿. So start this one with the left side forward. The same beginning, you want the left foot and left hand to come together this way. But in this one, you're going to step toe to toe and then spiral around. Oh, this way. Sorry, that was the wrong one. You're going to go in and then you're going to bring this foot up and then show the feet. So there's a few options in terms of rotating work, depending on where you place the foot. So in this one, you're going to keep the feet the same. You roll in and then come to this position. So you're keeping the right foot in front. But that same coordination first. That hand goes behind and this hand leads with the leg. So 1, 2. 1, 2. So there's a slight entry in, Slight entry wedging off, and then you're gonna coil the whole body this way. Let's play with that a little bit. So this is the kind of first entry we teach in terms of a rotation movement. Nice.
Are you actually landing a strike or not, or are you feinting?
Yeah, you can with this one. You can strike into the head and then come down. The key later with this one, what you're looking to do is take the weapon with the hand. So you're looking in this case as they come in that you're looking to destabilize them that way to take them out of the structure. So with this one, you can do in terms of basically like strike the head and then come down. But I generally teach it just to be straight in. So that strikes there obviously is a possibility, but it's going to follow straight onto the hand and basically take it out this way. It's a bit like a kind of slap at first. It's not. I'm lying. Not true. First, this is a grab. This is not a slap. First, I grab the arm. Okay, this teaches a better connection. So what you're looking to do in this one, this is tricky to teach. So you're going to come to the side and you're looking to grab the wrist. So you're grabbing the forearm and coming down onto the wrist. So you're looking for this kind of movement. So your arms coming from the outside and it's taking the wrist. And then as you take it, you're drawing the body out with it. So it's something like as you come up, I'm guiding the arm into the forearm. And then as I come across, I'm taking it and bringing it to the center line of the body. 1, 2. It just blends up and then take it this way. Yeah. And the main thing is you're trying to trap the person into a spiral with it, so you're setting them up for a 𝒂𝒂𝒏 in this case. Sit. Great. So again, you're using a similar kind of idea. As you come in, you're taking the forearm in this one, and then your backhand is in this position. It's going to come in and it's going to take the middle of the weapon, so the space in between the grip. And again, that same idea. I'm just going to slide the grip into it. So you've got one here, take, and then you slide the hand into it. Take the weapon, and then here you're pressing from the right foot, releasing the left side. This way. Obviously, this is coming up like an elbow to the head, but the main thing is that groundwork again from the hips, cutting them out this way. A little bit of a pull this way, so you're kind of splitting them off the weapon. This stays strong, this opens out, and then in this one you just want to follow them a little bit. So if you had the weapon, you would be here, you would roll them over, and then the weapon would be kind of pointing down at them. So you've got that kind of finished position. This is a holding position, like that. Just play with that a little bit. It's a kind of classic 𝒂𝒂𝒏. Uses the same kind of idea as this first one. You're just adding a kind of rotation. You're going to the opposite, the head side, obviously. So one hand's grabbing and the other side is striking through the ground. So. Nice. Nice. Great. And again, this is a really obvious spiral. So when you're doing this, you've got that. Think first you're drawing them into a spiral. So you've got the body kind of coiling in to the spiral. The same with that first one, you're kind of coiling in and then pressing out. Same with this one, you're coiling in with the rotation and then coiling out of it. But this kind of movement is rolling through the body. So again, you want to disorient them. You've got the balance taken, and then rather than just like, you can elbow them in the head and then they'll just kind of push back with it. Maybe they'll drop the weapon, but you still got to deal with them. So you want the idea that you're actually taking the structure totally through it. So you actually want them to continue. I want them to hold on to the sword. I want them to get them to a position where they cannot hold it anymore, and then pin them into the ground this way. So I actually want them to maintain contact. It's in my benefit for them to kind of continue it that way. Play with this idea, kind of spiraling in, spiraling out. You're looking for the whole body to spiral from the ground. All right. That's it. So these two is basic are great because they teach this basic pattern, which is basically blend in with the strike, destabilize them on contact, and then pat and then control the spine through the technique. And that's basically what you're doing all the time in terms of ikkyo or whatever. It's just applied with the sword work. So the only extra object is that sense of you've got the pressure coming in. You've got a different distance in terms of the person's got a much longer distance than you, and you're looking for that idea to kind of wedge right the body straight in. So those issues are just a bit more direct. But the key thing is once I kind of pass the sword in these two variations, especially, I'm really concerned about getting to the center line of the person. So those two movements, especially, it's like how do I pass the sword here, which is not a real problem. It's a very small problem. If I can wedge the body in and then deal with the spine of the person, you do it. So just play with these two, and then we'll do another one. So you've got this kind of direct to the front. And you've got this one to the front, and then you've got from the left side rolling in that way. Yeah, great. Great, we'll do another variation. This one specifically deals with the sword, so using the sword as a kind of lever point for the movement. So you've probably seen this one before. This is the one where as the sword is coming in, you're coming off the line, wedging round and taking the sword here. And then as you come through, you're passing up through the structure, you end up in this kind of position. So you're basically drawing the sword out of the grip this way and wedging it up. And the idea is you cut the person on the way out, which is what we don't do in training, but let's see. This one is the same entry. You've got that coming in, but you make a bigger hip work. So now you do this hip work. So you're bringing the back foot into a rotation. So you've got 1, 2, this way. And this one starts as a slapping movement, like this, on the sword. And then I trap it with the hand. So you're going from a slap to a trap. Slap to a trap. Goes 1, 2, this way. The key thing is that big rotation. Now from here, think you've got the sword. You basically, I want the feeling in this one. Straight away, I'm going to take the sword as if it's mine. So as it comes in, I want to go, my sword. So I take it from the other person. And then from here, I apply the back hip in with the hand and then roll up it this way. But the key thing with this one, you can play also with the sword, but the key thing is this feeling as you go in. Again, I'm wedging the hand in, this, and then taking it from the structure. And then here, flying with the hip, and then the hip cuts up with that movement. So you're looking to really destabilize him, but you're using the sword in this case to lever the person off it. And they're in a really weak position, especially if you destabilize the posture. This big hip work.
Are you moving inwards or outwards with the second taking? So when you move the sword up?
Yeah. If it was more practical, you'd obviously go in. So like I would have that position, and then here I would take that foot and I would drive it into the person. I would drive the sword basically in that direction for the person as you're taking it out, cut them up that way. In terms of practice, what you're doing is you're giving the person space. So I go forward in it this way, and then come in this way. So the basics kind of pull in. What that also teaches in terms of, it's safer, but it also teaches the mechanics more clearly. Because what people do when they do this one like in, they tend to crunch everything up. So that feeling as you do the basic, giving them space, but really getting the sense that their hips catch underneath it. And then I'm relying on the hip work rather than like the sword coming towards the body for the person to move. So for the basic, making space going forwards to the space there. Nice.
All right, cool.
Yeah, sure.
On the initial raise,
Yeah.
as the attacker's raising their weapon,
Yeah.
presumably I'm coming off line a bit.
Yeah. Just off to the left a little bit. So you're coming. Yeah. You're looking in this case to get access to this side of the sword. So you're basically wedging. You've got that position. You're looking to be like at that angle. So you can basically get the hand in here, that way, and then trap it through that way. So that's the angle. Yeah, that kind of angle, and then I'm wrapping around it.
Okay.
This is like a slapping wrap kind of movement. And it slaps in and wraps around the arm. This is a great basic also because it teaches lots of possibilities as well. Once I've got that structure out, I can take this into different techniques. Initial kind of trapping movement is really kind of essential. Yeah, that's it. So there's another variation on this. This is a nice one. And so that's like a vertical variation where you're coming up over the top, taking the center of the weapon, and you're using this angle with the grip. This one now, the last one is you're coming from underneath, from the side, and you're going to use this angle of the weakness in the weapon. So you're using a horizontal path in this one. So these are kind of two basics in terms of, and then later in terms of 𝒂𝒂𝒃, it becomes a bit, you can kind of mix them up. But the key with this one is now you're not raising up with the sword. You're a little bit late in terms of the structure. So what you're blending with is the downward movement as it comes in. And this hand is going to go really casually from this position to that position. Again, you've got that same angle with the hip, but it comes from below. And then I take it from below as well. So I'm looking to slip into the grip and then do that same pattern. Now the difference is here, you've got the hand coming in. You've got more feeling of this pattern. And again, in terms of the practical way, you're going to kind of step into it. But for the practice, you're going to roll back with the hip. But it's got now a sense of this kind of this kind of slicing with the sword. So you would come in, you're blending with the strike down, you're catching inside below, wrapping it around in the same way. This hand comes in, and then you're rolling it across this way. So again, you're trying to wedge into the grip and split it, using this hand as an extra lever with the hip. It's got that kind of feeling. So these two variations, like the vertical from above and the horizontals from below. The first one blending in with the raise, the second one's blending in with the cut. So ones are just a little bit slightly different time. Nice. Yeah, and the key with these two especially, you want to feel like when you perform these, that's happening with the person. So they're basically out of the structure. You don't want to feel in this one like they get the ground there and then trying to attempt anything where I've got the ground in the feet and the grip's strong. This is going to kind of go nowhere. So unless you've got kind of a 𝒕𝒉 in place, then you're going to start to destabilize. But you're looking for again on contact to destabilize them out of the structure, and then they're not doing this can kind of come out. As long as they've not got stability in the ground, you can start to work the grip out of it. So you're either working that way or that way back into the body. So you're looking to kind of split the grip. But the crucial thing is that sense of destabilizing from the structure. Okay, great. Just play with those. So you've got these 4 variations. There's about 12 or so, 12, 15 or something like that, if you count all the variations, different forms of them. So obviously you've got simple techniques like kotegaeshi coming in, they pretty much function the same way. And there's a few more. Also, we've not done the Dojo. We'll do the Dojo another day, but just play again with these structures. The main thing with these, and these, again, these last 2, really think about kind of spiral patterns. So I'm looking to really, even though it looks like a kind of leverage linear movement, you really want to kind of express a spiral kind of pattern through the hips, and you're constantly working this, that same kind of score. You're looking to pass a spiral through the hip. That's what's going to give you the kind of control over it. So just by the last few. It's nice. Great. Yeah, and then the main thing with this also, it's a bit like the knife defense. They're not exactly practical. Like if you were to, not that you would be attacked with someone on the street with a samurai sword, hopefully. So the key thing is that they're just emphasizing principles from the basic kind of pattern, the basic Taijutsu work. So they're not really in a way designed to be functional sword whip patterns, but they do teach some principles to be applied to that kind of area. But obviously, it's a different area of training. Dealing with someone who actually knows how to cut with a sword and wanting to cut is a totally different experience than training this kind of kata practice like this. But the principles are sound anyway. As long as I'm focused, the main thing to focus on in this case is that destabilizing on contact. That's the kind of key point. So that entry in whatever you're doing with either the atemi or the hand to make contact to press weight through, you're looking for that straight away to affect the person's balance. So the timing's the critical factor with this. Distance, timing comes down to those 2 points. You're either blending with that movement or you're blending with that movement coming down. But you want all the time to destabilize them so that the person's not got the ground so they can start to resist the technique. That's where they work. And when they don't work, it's when you're late. So you need to go somewhere else. But yeah, that's it, pretty much it. So don't use them on the street, but very useful in the dojo. So there we go. Okay, great. Domo arigato.
Domo arigato. Thank you.
Perfect. Very good.